Hey everyone, this is Ryan Hicks, and I'd like to give some of my thoughts and reactions to the latest episode of Twin Peaks, Season 3, Episode 15, There's Some Fear in Letting Go. Now, I should start out by saying this is going to be an extensive deep dive into the episode. I don't have any answers. I don't have any clue where it's going to go. I have some speculation. But I won't speculate too much because I'm enjoying the ride. But what I did do is I wrote the episode out almost word for word. And I won't read the whole episode, but I will, extensively go through some things. So let's get started. Again, episode 15, There's Some Fear in Letting Go. We start with the woods in the morning. And we see Nadine walking to Big Ed's gas farm with the golden shovel. And she's walking like a foot soldier. With that shovel, very happy, very determined. She said, Ed, I've come to tell you I've changed. She knows about Ed and Norma. I kept you two apart because of my jealousy. Don't worry about me. Spend the rest of your lives together. True love is giving them what makes them happy. This is interesting because in season 2, Nadine had that memory loss, and she thought she was a teenager and fell in love with Mike, and she changed, but she changed because of that. Whereas with this time, she's changed, but with like an open heart. It's like she's growing as a person, and hearing those words and has really changed. It's kind of grown, So we feel good for Nadine. We hopefully feel good for Ed and for Norma. Ed, you are free. Go and enjoy. I love it. And when she says goodbye to him, it's very nice, very sincere. And then she puts her shovel back on her shoulder and takes off down the road. Next we hear the song I've Been Loving You Too Long from the Monterey Pop Festival. And Ed goes to see Norma right away. And as Ed speaks to Norma, she says, Ed, I'm so sorry, Walter is here. And as he's talking, the music holds the note, like right mid-note. So it's like, da, while the dialogue goes on with Walter and with Norma. And Norma says that she's exercising the part in her contract where Walter can buy her out. He says, well, why would that be? She says, family reasons. I have a wonderful family. I've spread myself too thin, and I want to spend my time taking care of them. And at that point, the music starts up again. On I Love You, Honey. There's a scratching just like the vision Andy saw. We see like the telephone lines. And then Cooper is driving to the Dutchman's. Ray said something about Philip Jeffries being at the Dutchman's. Who knows? So as Cooper drives up in his truck, he's met by a woodsman. And without saying a word, they go up a staircase, and we hear a shh, electricity, and they disappear. And this also goes back to what Philip Jeffries was talking about in Firewalk with Me, about that they have their meetings above a convenience store, and that he's been there at some of their meetings. And then Cooper says, I'm looking for Philip Jeffries. And again, no one says anything, but the woodsman turns a crank, and we see a bright light. And then we see the masked man. He's like wearing the red suit and the white paper mache face. I don't know. I wonder if that face is supposed to look like the mother. Hard to say. And they're walking down the hallway, and it's very, very dark. I had to actually crank the brightness on my TV to see a lot of it, and it kind of morphs into the woods. And then goes back into this dark hallway. And then they go up a staircase. And this is the same staircase that Gordon saw in his vision in South Dakota. We can see that pattern on the wall. And it is also the same one from the picture that I think it's Mrs. Tremaine gave Laura. And then that Laura eventually opened the door and went in the door and could see herself. But it's that same room. And they go up a staircase, and then they open a door and they go inside, and they're outside now. And you see one woodsman on his right, and I had to crank the brightness up, and there's another woodsman walking with him. No one is speaking. They just go. And from what I remember, I think this like motel complex, there's a light on in only one of the rooms, like the outside light, which he's walking towards. So number 8 is the room. I don't know if that means anything. Cooper goes to open the door and it's locked from the outside, and then someone walks beside him, and this woman comes up and says, "I'll unlock the door for you," and it's spoken backwards, and she's like moving backwards, and she's in a house coat. It almost looks like a man, like it looks like a man with a wig on in a house coat. I don't know if that's significant. So when Cooper walks into the room, he looks at the wall, and the wall opens like a curtain, and it really reminded me of The Wizard of Oz, like when they go down the hall and they are talking to the wizard, and don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. I wonder if that's kind of a reference to that. I don't know. And the fact that they later talk about Judy, I wonder if Judy is like Judy Garland. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah. So there's this device clanking, and we hear humming, and it's just really a silhouette, but it almost looks like the same sort of bell that the fireman had in episode 8. And it lets out smoke kind of in the same way as the thing that Andy was holding. And there's a circle beside it, and that seems almost like kind of like the portal that Andy was looking up at in that room. There's like this little circle beside it. It doesn't look exactly like the thing Andy saw, but similar. And then we hear this voice, "Oh, it's you," which is Jeffries. "Jeffries, thank God. Why did you send Ray to kill me?" "What? I called Ray?" "So you did send him. Did you call me 5 days ago?" And then the device does like a clanking and a humming, and I counted. I did like one Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and it seemed to be like every 10 seconds that it made the sound for. Don't know if that's significant. Anyways, "Did you call me 5 days ago?" "I don't have your number." "So it was someone else who called me?" And then we hear the swishing sound, and there's almost looks like a doorway with something above it, behind it. "We used to talk." "Yes, we did." "Well, now, I'm not going to talk about Judy. In fact, we're not going to talk about Judy at all." And then we see the flashback with David Bowie, and then Cooper says, 1989, "You showed up at FBI headquarters in Philadelphia, and you said you met Judy." We hear the whooshing sound. "So, you are Cooper." "Philip, why didn't you want to talk about Judy?" "Who is Judy?" "Does Judy want something from me? Why don't you ask her yourself?" And again, many parallels, it seems, to The Wizard of Oz. Like you have to go find the witch. Let me write it down for you. And then we see smoke, and I think I got these numbers right. 480551, and there's a period behind 1. And it almost appeared that the second number, the 8, and the second 5 have almost a shadow behind them. I can't really tell. Who knows what it means. And then we see like a little 4 happen, almost like the numbers are repeating themselves as Cooper is writing it down. "Who is Judy?" "You've already met Judy." "What do you mean I've met Judy?" And the phone rings. Cooper looks at the phone, and it's a rotary phone with a notebook beside it and like a lamp. Is that notebook a diary? Is it Laura's diary? "Who is Judy?" The bell disappears, and then Cooper goes over to answer the phone. When he picks up the phone, there's this intense light when he goes to grab it. And after that, he's outside the convenience store in a phone booth, and there's swishing sounds. And it's a weird camera. It's almost like in the 60s with Batman, with how they did like these weird angles. So it's got this weird angle from below, and it looks at the phone almost in slow motion. There's like a little glitch that happens. So it's like here, and then the next frame is right here. And then we hear a dial tone. He hangs up the phone and starts walking, comes face to face with Richard, who's pointing a gun at him. And then Richard says, "I recognize you back at the farm. You're FBI. You're FBI. How do you figure that?" "Because I've seen your picture in your fancy FBI suit." And then Cooper takes a step, Don't come any closer. Where'd you see that picture? My mom had it. Who's your mom? Audrey Horn, and your name's Cooper. And then he like snorts and spits on the ground. And while Richard is looking at where he spit, Cooper hits the gun out of his hand and kicks him several times. Now, if Cooper wanted to kill him, he could have. He killed that boss with one punch. So he intentionally didn't kill him. It's almost like a parent spanking a child. And then Cooper says, don't ever threaten me again. Get in the truck, we'll talk on the way. And for whatever reason, Richard goes in. And then before Coop gets in the truck, he sends a text on the phone, Las Vegas, ? I can only assume it's to Diane. They get in the truck. And as they drive away, we hear some electric sounds. We see bright lights, we see smoke. And then this convenience store disappears into the woods. And then we see almost like a shadow above, whether that floats up or whether that's some sort of UFO or whatever. And then it goes dark. And then we see the next shot in the daytime. And it's above the woods. We see a stream. I'm thinking it's right by that trailer park. And we see a man walking his dog, who we later find is Mark Frost. Mark Frost is the actor playing him, but that's him. Anyways, it's Steve in the woods with, was it Gersten Hayward? Donna's younger sister, who we saw earlier, whom he's been having an affair with. He looks really strung out, and he says, I did do it. Then she says, no, she did it. I can't. I did it. You didn't do anything. You were stoned. What did she give you? Give me the gun, okay? Are you going to come with me? No, you're not going either. Look at me. I'm a high school graduate. And then at that point, there's this ominous music that starts. And he puts a bullet in the gun. And he says, I'm going to end it. And then he says, where will I be? Will I be with the rhinoceros? Or will I be completely turquoise? I feel something. This is the end. I've got a duty to do. I've got a duty to do? I don't know what that means. Do whatever you want. And he said, I like having sex with you. Did I tell you? That's pretty crude stuff. I like to get down and fight with you. And then we see the man walking his dog come by, and Kirsten is startled by this and then runs off behind the tree. The man, maybe he sees the gun and then takes off. Then we hear ominous music, and this is great cinematography, because rather than, we know what's going to happen, but rather graphically see it, it's kind of more terrifying to see her reaction and hearing the sounds of like the gun click. And we hear a single shot. The girl says no, and she's freaking out, and then she looks up, and almost like she sees something, and then we see this shot of like the trees and like spinning around, really weird. It's not really another shot in any Twin Peaks like that. And we hear this ominous music from the trees. It's almost like alien sounds are coming from the trees. It's weird. And then the man runs up to tell Carl what he saw. And then he points to, and says, from that trailer right over there, he who lives in that trailer right there. So we know who it is. And Carl is holding a shovel. It doesn't look like a golden shovel by Dr. Ant, but he's holding a shovel for whatever reason. And then we're at the Roadhouse, and ZZ Top is playing Sharp Dressed Man. People are dancing. James comes in with his buddy and says hi to Renee. Now this seems kind of strange. They said earlier in the season that James had a motorcycle accident, so that would kind of explain this about, this girl that you like. She's sitting there with her husband and friends, and, James just comes up and says hi. And of course her husband gets mad and gets up and starts beating up James. And his friend gets in there and starts kicking him. And then his buddy says, oi. And he gets his green glove hand and one punch to Chuck, and then another one punch to Chuck's friend. And right when the punch lands, the Sharp Dressed Man is playing, the music stops mid-note, same as when earlier on the song stopped. And after the second punch, the song starts up back again. And then James says, "I'm so sorry, Renee. I did not mean for this to happen." Next scene, in Las Vegas, the FBI is interviewing a Douglas, Joan, and Jane. And they obviously have the wrong ones. There's a family there with a bunch of kids, and kids are screaming, and it's weird. I don't know what that has to do. It's kind of like comic, like yelling Wilson. Don't know. Next scene is we see Mr. Todd and Roger, and he's asking about Anthony. I'm guessing that's the night of that day, so I'm giving you one day. And he's saying, has he heard from them yet? And then we don't see her face, but we know it's Chantel. She shoots Mr. Todd in the face, and then she shoots Roger. She walks away, and we can hear him gasping. She comes back and finishes it. And then she says, 1 down, 1 to go. So who is the 1 to go? I assume it's Dougie. Hope not, but that seems where it's heading. And now we in the jail cell at Twin Peaks Sheriff's Department, and the friend is put in jail cell number 8, and the room that Cooper went to was room number 8. I don't know if that's significant. And James is in 7. There's the girl making the monkey sounds, and maybe it's like the monkey from Fire Walk With Me. That seems really strange that was in there, and maybe that's the link. I don't know. And then we see Chantel and Hutch talking about killing, talking about, well, they do it too, like so-called Christian nation, killed damn near all the Indians. And then Chantel's talking about how she's, upset because she hadn't got to torture anyone. It's no fun torturing someone if they're already dead. It's been so long since she's tortured someone. And then she says, I love you, Hutch. I love you, Chantel. Like, they have a nice dynamic. They seem really nice to each other. It's like just strange that they're murderers, and that's their job. Anyways, look at the stars. Mars. Anyways, the next scene we see at night, and Dougie is sent home with Jeannie E, and she gives him a piece of chocolate cake, and he says, delicious. Oh, Dougie, it's like all our dreams are coming true. And he repeats, true. And then we have this long shot of Dougie eating the cake. I love watching him use the fork, kind of scooping it. It's great. And Dougie moves like a salt shaker, and then presses a couple buttons on the remote, takes another bite, hits another button on the remote, and then an old movie comes on, and I guess it's Sunset Boulevard, and there's some dialogue that's happening saying about getting the old gang back together, and then someone says Gordon Cole, and Dougie pauses, and then we start to hear the humming sound, and we've heard that humming sound from the socket before. And then Dougie is kind of drawn towards it. He starts to go towards it. He kind of hears it. He tries to put his fork in it. Doesn't work, so he tries another way. Shoves his fork into it. We see a flash of light, almost like the light that we saw with the woodsman when Cooper was meeting Philip Jeffries. We hear a scream, and he's thrown. And this is the first time that we hear Sonny Jim. He says, Mom, what was that? And I noticed when the lights went up bright in the kitchen, Janie E has an owl cookie jar. I think that's probably the only reference so far that we've seen about the owls. Seems kind of strange not to have owls in Twin Peaks, but there it is. And then when we see Cooper, once he's sticks the fork in the socket, just going back a second, it's almost like there's a glitch. It's not like he's shaking, but it's almost like the shot, there's a glitch again. The body thuds and go out. Log Lady calls Hawk. She's crying. Lucy says she's on line 1. She says, Hawk, I'm dying. I'm sorry, Margaret. You know about death, that it's just a change, not an end. Hawk, it's time. There's some fear. Some fear in letting go. Some fear is letting go. That's the name of the episode. Remember what I told you? I can't say more over the phone, but you know what I mean. From our talks, when we were able to speak face to face. Watch for that one, the one I told you about, the one under the moon on Blue Pine Mountain. Hawk, my log is turning gold. The wind is moaning, I'm dying. Good night, Hawk. Why she says her log is turning gold, I don't know. If that is a reference to Dr. Amp somehow with the gold, I don't know. If gold is representing like goodness, who knows? Truth. And then she says, good night, Hawk. Good night, Margaret. And then he says, goodbye, Margaret. And we see a shot of the moon, and then clouds cover the moon. Calls Truman, Lucy, Andy, and Bobby into the conference room. Says Margaret passed away tonight. And Lucy says something like, the log lady is dead. And then we see the woods, and we see what we assume is her cabin. And then the lights go out, signifying she's gone. And then we see Audrey and Charlie. And she says, I'm tired waiting for the phone. There's this whole interchange between them. I didn't write it all out because it seemed kind of repetitive, but essentially, you know, it's Audrey being horrible, just horrible to Charlie, and Charlie being kind of a wimp about it. Audrey's just so mean. And she says something like, Billy never talks to me like that. And then she says, I see right before my eyes. I never really saw you before the way I see you now. I'm meeting a different person. Who are you, Charlie? And it's weird because it's almost like Audrey is a different person, the way she's being mean. And she starts to choke him. Do you know how much I hate you? And then we go to the roadhouse, and there's a girl sitting in a booth by herself, this little girl with big glasses. Then two guys walk up. She says, I'm waiting for someone. They just lift her up, put her on the ground, and she just kind of sits there for a second, starts crawling around. We hear the band playing, and they're playing a song, and the chorus is, oh my soul, losing control, who builds this heart? And she's again crawling on the floor while we hear the band playing, and then we see like a flashing light again, and we hear her scream, and then that's it. And then as the credits roll, we see the motel complex where Cooper met Jeffries again. It's kind of leading this way with just the one light on. I did turn the brightness up all the way so I could see some stuff, and there's something really creepy that I missed. We see a quick cut right at the end of the credits to like another shot, and I thought, well, what's this? Like another angle of it. And when I took up the brightness, you could see in the shadows, you could see that woman that opened the door, that unlocked the door. She's just like in a house coat and just standing there in the shadows. Very, very creepy. And that's it. Episode 15, we only have a few more episodes to go. It's making me sad because it's been so wonderful, so great, and the show is really ramping up now. Some questions I have is what happens to Dougie? What happens to Cooper? Does this like electric shock wake him up? Does it kill him? There's a lot of death that happens. I don't know. It's hard to say. A lot of these other characters, what do they have to do with anything? Like this Steven, who he was talking about, I have a duty to do. No idea what that has to do with anything. Her sister, Kirsten's sister Donna, they haven't mentioned Donna at all. Not that she's an integral part at all, but they haven't mentioned anything to do with her. What's going to happen? It feels like they're going to converge, hopefully, in Twin Peaks. But, you know, how is Dougie going to get there? Is Dougie going to be okay? Because it looks like Hutch and Chantel are on their way to shoot him. Really worried about that because they seem to know what they're doing, and like they've never made a mistake, not once. They're very good at what they do. So yeah, but anxiously awaiting next week. And if you have any thoughts or opinions, please leave a comment. And I know this is a really long one, but it was important to me to go through this. And I'm filming this the night of that it was released, just a couple hours after I watched it. I had to go back 2-3 times and watch it just to pick on everything. And I'm sure there's lots of stuff that I missed too, but yeah, I'm loving it, and I hope you are too. Thanks. We'll see you next time.